Many leadership books published over the last decade seems to repeat the same advice. Be vulnerable, share your struggles, show your fears, take off the mask. It sounds wise and authentic, but here's what very few people tell you. If you apply that advice without understanding the psychology behind it, you can unintentionally damage trust, create anxiety throughout your organization, and weaken the very leadership your team depends on. The problem isn't vulnerability. The problem is confusing leadership with therapy. Today, I want to discuss the critical difference between authentic vulnerability and emotional dumping, and the boundary every leader needs to understand if they want people to feel safe following them. One of the most overlooked principles in leadership psychology is something known as emotional contagion. Emotions flow through organizations, but they don't flow equally. A leader's emotional state travels downward, and because of the power dynamic, it becomes amplified. If a team member says, "I'm worried about this project," people offer support. But when the CEO says the same thing, the team doesn't think, "What an authentic leader." They think, "Should I start looking for another job?" Your words don't simply communicate information, they create emotional reality. This leads to what I like to call the boundary paradox. Healthy vulnerability exists between peers. Leadership, however, is not a peer relationship. Your team depends on you for direction, stability, and psychological safety. When you unload your unresolved fears onto them, you unintentionally ask them to carry a burden that doesn't belong to them. Instead of leading the emotional climate, you become dependent on your team to regulate yours. That isn't vulnerability. That's emotional outsourcing. What should a leader do instead? Here's a framework I found incredibly useful. Never share the wound, share the scar. A wound is still bleeding. It sounds like this. "I honestly don't know what I'm doing. I'm overwhelmed. I'm losing sleep over this." That doesn't inspire confidence. It transfers anxiety. A scar is different. A scar says, 2 years ago I made a mistake remarkably similar to this one. It was painful, but it taught me lessons that we are applying today. The pain is real. The lesson is genuine. But the leader is no longer trapped inside the experience. Now they can guide others through it. Let me show you the difference. Imagine a technology company that has just lost its biggest client. The CEO gathers everyone together. She says, "I'm incredibly stressed. I haven't slept for days. I honestly don't know whether our business model still works." She believes she's building trust. Instead, productivity disappears. Slack fills with private conversations. People quietly update their LinkedIn profiles, and rumors spread faster than solutions. Now imagine the same situation handled differently. The same CEO says, "We've lost our largest client. It's a significant setback, and I'm not going to minimize it. 5 years ago, this would have sent me into panic, but I've learned a great deal since then. Over the next week, we are taking 3 specific actions, and I'll keep you informed every step of the way." Same facts, different leadership. The second leader doesn't pretend everything is fine, but neither do they transfer their fear onto everyone else. They combine honesty with direction, humanity with steadiness, transparency with confidence. That's what people follow. So how do you know whether you're sharing the right thing? Before speaking, ask yourself one simple question. Am I sharing this to make myself feel better or to help my team become better? If you're sharing simply to relieve your own anxiety, pause. Speak to an executive coach, a trusted mentor, or to someone outside your reporting structure. Your team should never become your emotional support system when difficult conversations are necessary. Remember this simple blueprint. First, acknowledge reality. Don't minimize the challenge. Second, connect it to a scar. Share what experience has taught you. Third, provide the path forward. People don't expect leaders to know everything, but they do expect leaders to know where they're going next. Your team doesn't need a flawless leader. They need a grounded one. If this perspective challenged the way you think about vulnerability, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. At Transformative Solutions, we help leaders build the emotional maturity, wisdom, and practical leadership capabilities needed to create high-performing, resilient organizations. If you'd like to strengthen your leadership, we'd love to work with you. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes vulnerability simply means saying everything that's on your mind. Remember, great leaders don't hide the truth. They carry it in a way that gives others the confidence to move forward.
Ready to transform your leadership and organization? Visit us at www.transall.io.